Alright, so conclusion. Somebody tore this apart for a rebuild at some point. The carburetor is missing, the exhaust has been welded, the piston and exhaust valve were removed, and there is no kind of apparatus for starting this beast unless I retrofit this blue hose here that came with it, which fits onto our non-PTO side of the crankshaft, which is the part where a starter normally would be. Now, this block has mounts for a starter, but the flywheel isn't toothed, so there's nothing for a starter to grab on that to spin it over. And also this backing plate is the wrong one for a starter because there's no cutout for the front end of the starter to go through to access the flywheel. So this was hand crank, or the implement had a starter on it. I imagine a person can wrap a rope around this thing a few times. There's really nothing to keep it from spinning on here, unless we can make these bolt holes line up with the ones on the flywheel, there and there. Make sure you never lose this little guy here. That's your flywheel key. It keeps the flywheels from spinning on there. This big honking flywheel here is supposed to spin with this, right? Yeah, piston's moving, that was removed. We do have the piston. It's kind of crusty. It needs polish. So does this and the grist pin, which you see this guy here has holes in it. This goes through that and through this piston. And also we need the snap rings that keep this from sliding out. It also needs the piston rings that go into these grooves. So we'll probably have to order those. I'll have to order some gasket material to rebuild this. But since we're missing a carburetor, nowhere for gas to go into the engine, I don't know what exactly we're going to do. Maybe try and source one. But yeah, and then the complete rat's nest that made this mess inside the oil pan and inside the engine and everywhere. That was no fun. We're going to have to scrape all that out of the piston. Our head looks to be in good shape. I would say this probably was a replacement head gasket at one point. And our spark plug seems to be brand new. That's got a few hours on it, but isn't anything terrible. It's been replaced since it left the factory because it isn't a Briggs & Stratton and Champion branded plug. And then our shroud here, which I'm going to guess is original because it's probably harder to find the large Briggs & Stratton engine shrouds. Does have its model type and code thing here, the remnants of a sticker that you can barely read. But from what I can see here, this does in fact say that it's from 1966 and that it is a 23 cubic inch engine, which I think makes it a 12 horse. It's rolling everywhere, of course, so some of these parts need a shine up and needs a muffler. It's pretty toasty, but then you can still, they're very readily available. But yeah, big heavy piece of Wisconsin-made iron. Oh yeah, there we go. B and S. Briggs & Stratton. This is a cool looking shroud. This thing's very retro. And I imagine that because our exhaust lifter here doesn't lift when we rotate it over because it's stuck in the up position, which means the exhaust was open when it became seized, which I imagine was not why it was parked. It was probably parked for the rebuild job, and they lost the rings for the piston, and then the carburetor disappeared. This oil bath air filter was also in the truck when I bought it, but I think that was for the truck, not for this engine. this is just way too big for a 12 horse, but it might be okay size for a 170 cubic inch inline 6 car and truck engine. Well, this is rebuildable, potentially, if we can get a carburetor to work with it. We're going to have to clean out the rat's nest inside of there. This, I imagine, is our breaker for the points. This is normally makes a closed contact so that it isn't sparking, and then when the crank gets to exactly the right position, it opens up that gap so that it doesn't grind it out, and that spark actually goes to here instead of just grounding through the block. And then here's our kill switch. Stick that to any piece of metal that's grounded to the block. And it runs this wire, which has, feeds to our breaker, and then also feeds this, and there's a plastic nylon insulator in there so that it doesn't grind out through the block and the shroud. No, that doesn't attach to the block there, just to the shroud. Yeah, be a fun little project if I can find parts. It's also missing the breather cover, so that's no fun. Probably gonna have to slide a chisel down into here and knock that tappet loose. Oh, that might be interesting. Or not a chisel, but a punch. But yeah, this is our little 66 medium-large Briggs & Stratton engine project that we got with a bigger project, pickup truck that needs everything and nothing. So that's our disassembly and diagnosis.